Hello and welcome to February's edition of Modern Britain Today. We start off with this remarkable entrepreneur who is totally blind as well. Hello, can you introduce yourself please?
Hello, my name is Michael Spooner. I'm Managing Director of Pansophia Business Innovation. We're a consultancy working with small businesses to help them reach their goals. And guess what? I was born blind. My belief is that you can overcome any barrier if you have the will, determination and strength. I was born blind and I was blind for about 2 years as a child. Then I got my eyesight back with an operation for congenital cataracts. Then in age 13 I had detached retinas, another operation at age 16 that gave me my eyesight back again. I knew it was a race against time, so I had to study fast, and I lost my eyesight again at 21. I always say you can turn a disadvantage into an advantage. Yeah, my passion is to help young people create business opportunities or set up a business so that they can deliver success for themselves with my help. And the reason why I do this is because I have a passion. This helped work for me in terms of helping me overcome my barriers and challenges, and so I want to share that and with other people.
Michael, you have a lifetime of experiences. How do you use your experience in the businesses for today?
Yes, so I help businesses. I've helped about at least about 30-40 businesses a year, so they're kind of hand-picked and filtered. So it's not everybody we can work with, but we do work with largely lots of black and ethnic minority type businesses. I would say 80% of our businesses are women-run businesses, led businesses. We help them with advice, that critical advice, help them to put a decent business plan in place. We run 8 one-day training courses, which I take all my clients through, and then we do a lot of the development. We stay with them for 12 months of continuous monthly mentoring and support.
Michael, I can only guess how that must have felt. 1 minute you've got the sight, next minute you haven't, then you have the sight back, and then you haven't again. How did you persevere?
Yes, so it is about belief. It's about belief in yourself, having a clear direction, knowing that success will come, but you've got to put the work in, put the time in, put the effort in, and keep going.
Michael, did you know that you were going to succeed?
Yes, I had. There was a kind of certainty. I mean, I kind of knew I was going to succeed, but I knew I had to work hard.
Michael, do you think blindness has helped you to succeed?
That's a good question. Yeah, blindness kind of. Once I got over the initial shock, and that took time, and it did take time, it actually acts as a way of driving me forward. Definitely, you know that you can't see the kind of visual aspects I need help with, and it makes you ask for help. Some people are reluctant to ask for help. I know I have to ask for help, and asking for help is one of the secrets of success.
So, Michael, if you were to give one line of advice to any young business, what would it be?
I would say you must put in place a really good business plan and put a good team around you to help you.
Michael, thank you so much for today. It's been a wonderful experience to have met you, and I hope we will work together more in the future.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Wasn't that inspiring story about Michael Spooner? Incredible man. And now we meet a very incredible woman, Hajra Khan, who works for Islam TV. Hajra, can you tell me how did you first get into television? And also, what's inspired you as a Muslim lady to actually have a career and something that you really enjoy?
I got into broadcasting through quite a long journey, actually. We'd have to go back about almost 20 years ago, and I was designing clothes for local stores in the East End of London, and predominantly sort of forward-thinking Islamic fashion for women. So, things that they could wear to work, or things that sort of had a Western edge to them, but were modest and covering them. I took a break from that to have my family, and it wasn't until 16 years later, when I divorced, that I finally plucked up the courage to think, well, I've got to do something and turn my life around. And I started freelancing, writing for a fashion magazine for predominantly Muslim women, but not specifically aimed at Muslim women. And I wrote a couple of pieces, one on an artist and one on an author. And that got me noticed, and just trawling the internet, paying attention to vacancies that came up, and I saw an opening at the Islam channel and went for the audition. And it's actually for a show that I don't present on, and I was called back later that evening to be a guest on the show that I actually do present on, and they obviously liked me, and the rest is history, really. And that's how I ended up presenting on Living the Life.
What do you think are the qualities that are necessary in order to sort of have a career? Is it self-belief? Is that one of the big qualities that you have to have?
I think so, definitely. Definitely need self-belief. I've always been a creative person, and I think when you sort of get caught up in the everyday workings of normal life, children, family, you sort of forget what your own abilities are and your gifts, what you can give to everybody. And it's only when you stop and take a little bit of time, stand back, and you realise, well, I used to do things and I was good at them, and there's nothing to stop me from doing them in the future. And like I said, especially with divorcing, it sort of puts everything in perspective, that you have to get up. There's no one else to fix your life for you apart from yourself. So yes, self-belief is a must, definitely.
I have a vast amount of respect for Muslim people in general. I think the image that is really shown a lot of the time doesn't really reflect Islam and Muslim people in Britain today. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think media has quite a skewed image of especially Muslim youth. All we seem to find on the news channels is this young person committed this crime, there was a scare here, or somebody was being ushered off to the Far East to get married against their will, or someone was being beaten by their husband, and the list goes on. That's all you hear. We don't hear about the positive stories of the young girls who come out of university, or they're at university, they've got their own YouTube channels, they're demonstrating how to put on makeup, they're advising on fashion. We have people who've been in the art industry for years and years and years, and people go unnoticed unless you're in those circles. We've got theatre, we've got music. these are the things that need to be promoted. We have people who work in the communities, local council, we've got people in the police force, we have teachers, the list is endless. And these are all the stories that need to be focused on, need to show our young people that if you have an interest, take the thread and run with it. Don't hold back. Explore all the things that you think you may be able to do, the things you enjoy. And for example, if you like writing, I like writing. It doesn't take any effort to set up a blog. Write about the things that interest you. If you like food, what did you cook today? How did you cook it? Where did you get the ingredients from? Add a twist to it. Did you feed a friend? Did you take it to a neighbour? Who liked it? What were the comments? And these are the things that normalise us as a community, I think, once you get noticed.
I understand as well you had tremendous medical issues as well in your life. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you overcame these to keep a successful career going and a successful life going as well?
I graduated from university almost 20 years ago. Shortly after that, I became very ill with a couple of autoimmune diseases, and it took them a few years to discover what I actually had. I was diagnosed with bowel disease, arthritis, and a rare disease called Addison's disease, which means I don't produce my own steroid. So the treatment for it is replacement steroids. So during that period, which was mainly through my marriage as well, so it went on for sort of like over 18 years at my worst. I put on huge amounts of weight. It fluctuated. I wasn't able to walk. Bedbound for a lot of the time, and and I was blessed. I was able to have my children, and you find ways to manage. You make it work, but you do lose self-confidence. You look in the mirror and you don't recognise a person that's looking back at you. You forget all the things that made you feel good about yourself when you're in that situation, and it's only when you start to make the effort to meet new people. I might have gone to talks in the local community hall and make new friends, and realise that people are interested in things that I have to say, my opinions, and it brings you out of yourself. And it was a trip to South Africa about 5 years ago, and living on the beachfront, Durban's beachfront, and I think the sea air and the heat had a dramatic impact on my physical and mental well-being. And I think it was after that I started to turn my life around, despite the fact that I might have been in pain every day and low on energy. I think if you pick up your mental attitude, you can overcome anything. And when I was living in South Africa, I was there for the most part on my own with my 2 children, surrounded by a lot of family because my father's South African. But nonetheless, I was still managing things on my own, and that proved to me that I was able to do anything. I could live in a foreign country, manage my 2 children, send one of them to school, and everything was normal. No one had burnt the house down. Everyone was clean and fed. I think I had achieved something, and I think that gave me the inspiration to move forward. I still suffer from all the things I've listed and more, and I will continue to take steroids for the rest of my life. I do have good days and bad days, but at the end of the day, it's learning how to manage your lifestyle. It's learning when to say no and listen to your body.
Hajra Khan was another inspirational lady to talk to. And now we move on with Helena Shard and others to talk about the Queen's carriage. We do regular royal work for TV stations right across the world, and this is typical of the type of work that we do. So wasn't that royal carriage magnificent? Now we move on to one of our correspondents, Ruth Pearson, and she is talking to Luke Giorgio.
We today are with Luke Giorgio, who is a motivational speaker and works with young people in school. Can you tell me some of the things you do when you go into schools?
Yeah, sure. So when we go into schools, we normally work on a 6-week programme looking at raising achievement with young people that have often been affected by gang culture or disaffected students. So we're looking to raise their aspirations and inspire them to achieve better and reach their max potential.
Okay, so what you can see on the screen now is a programme that we've delivered in a school in North London, where we've gone in for 6 weeks and delivered six different modules, looking to raise achievement in the school. The pupils that we worked with were disadvantaged, some had problems with going into gangs, some just had lack of focus, and a lot of them lacked self-esteem and confidence. So we done a questionnaire with them before and after and looked at some key attributes like their attitude, self-belief, focus, and what we found was that afterwards that they actually had gone up in all these factors after we delivered the programme. So from our point of view, we were really pleased that they felt that they had improved in all these areas. But not only that, we've actually saw a visible improvement in behaviour, within their focus, within their confidence, and the programme ended with them actually coming up to the front of the class and presenting their goals to the rest of the group. So it was really rewarding for us to see that.
I believe you use 6 steps in this. Can you tell me what they are?
So the first step that we look at is Carol Dweck's fixed and growth mindset. So we're looking at really helping the students understand the difference between the two and to help them have a growth mindset to believe that they can fail at things and go again and achieve what they want to achieve. So the second step that we look at is the power of focus. Now that's twofold. That's the first one is looking at what you focus on, you attract into your life, you focus it on enough. And the second part of that is just focusing in lesson, in class, so making sure that your attention is what the teacher is saying. So the third step that we look at is raising your standards. Now we've all got different standards in our life, and for young people it's really important that they raise their standards so they can raise the quality of their life and the results that they can achieve. So step number 4 is taking 100% responsibility. So I know specifically for me when I was younger, we like to blame people and blame things for our circumstances. So taking 100% responsibility allows you to be in control of your life rather than be the victim. Step 5 is the compound effect. So we look at taking a big idea, a big goal, and breaking it down into smaller steps, small things that you can do every single day to achieve your dream. So step number 6 is goal mapping. We look at what young people want, why they want it, and then look at how they're going to get there and who can help them. But most importantly, setting a time on that so they know how long it's going to take to achieve it.
Why do you think this project is so successful?
I mean, first and foremost, I really believe in the project. So I think when you believe in something, it helps humongously because you're passionate about it. So you're more likely to spend all your waking time thinking about how you can improve and develop it. And secondly, I think that connecting with young people and speaking to them on a level which they understand and having practical examples that they can relate to is really, really important. And the messages that we're giving are positive messages of aspiration and that they can achieve more. So I think young people, they naturally inherently want more and to achieve more. So I think this resonates with them.
Can you tell me, what's the personal passion behind you having this work with young people?
So for me, it's something I wanted to do for a long time, but it's only until 2 years ago when I had quite a severe car crash that really inspired me to then go and achieve my dreams, because I didn't want to live with regrets, because I knew that I nearly died. So I didn't want to then think, well, what if? And I think for me that's the worst thing, is having regrets. So going out and achieving my dream, fulfilling my vision of what I want to see in the world. For me it was a really hard time. Now every morning I wake up, I say a prayer to say thank you that I'm here. And it's a real humbling experience to go through something like that. So although it was a hard time for me, it was also a blessing, because I wouldn't have set this up and I wouldn't be speaking to young people and helping them if that hadn't have happened.
If you were going to give one piece of advice to a teenager, what would you want to say to them?
So if I was to give one piece of advice to a teenager or a young person, I'd give 2. So the first one would be to not have any regrets. So follow your passions and go wholeheartedly at them, because we've only got one life. And please, please, please don't wait for you to have a car crash for then you to pursue your dream. And the second piece of advice is, a lot of young people I work with try so hard to fit in. And you can't ever realise how special you are and stand out if you're constantly trying to fit in. So follow your dreams, follow your passions, and stand out. Yeah, you don't have to fit in. So another one of my big passions is working with young aspiring footballers. So I'm really fortunate that I get to coach in a Premier League academy at the moment. So I would like what I do off the pitch to inspire them on the pitch as well, and take my coaching ability to the next level. So to find more information about Max Potential, please go on to our website, which is www.maxpotentiallife.com, and that is spelled MAXPOTENTIAL, and then life, LIFE.com.
Thank you, Luke, for such an inspiring interview. I'm sure so many young people from so many backgrounds, Afro-Caribbean, Asian, Eastern European, will have benefited from hearing your life story and what you're doing and working in schools.
Thank you, Ruth. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Another very inspirational piece by Ruth Pearson on Luke Georgia. Wasn't he such a great guy to actually interview? And now we move on to Galia Birkenstroff and Julietta, talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a fascinating piece, this one.
It is nice to be back in London. It's so peaceful.
This is another part of my life, helping Ukrainian soldiers who are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Hello and welcome to the latest Good News Television exclusive. We're here today with Galina Berkestroff in her Harley Street homeopathic clinic, and she is talking about how she still helps soldiers from her homeland to overcome post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm here with the wonderful Julieta as well.
Hello, everybody. So, how you get involved to work with Ukrainian soldiers?
In my practice, I work a lot with some degree of post-traumatic stress. And as a secretary of Ukrainian Medical Association in the United Kingdom, we help a lot Ukrainian army. Before prescribing, I ask my patients about history of the trauma and the present condition. And then I give homeopathic remedies in forms of pills or drops that are very easy to take.
So can you tell me of a practical example of how your clinic works?
Yes, I would like to introduce you to my patient, Ukrainian veteran Alexander Baranetsky.
And I met a lot of people who been in this sort of environment and they too carry their mental scars, which are the sign of PTSD. But personally, I have never met a person who ever admits that he has PTSD. Again, I've met a lot of people who carry different form of PTSD. Some of them experience nightmare, some of them experience rage, some of them is shut down, and I know quite a few people who actually commit suicide. In my experience, I actually elevated by fighting. I'm seeking fighting. I love fighting, and I find this is the biggest form of excitement for me, and nothing will ever come close in terms of the feeling when the tank shooting at you and you shooting a tank, and this couple of seconds, which is like you see who gets whom. Or I held the man who's dying in my hand. That doesn't bother me because I live as I explained it to you before. My consciousness is clear. I sleep like a baby. I have no problem. I don't smoke. I don't take any form of stimulant. But in the same way, to me it's the biggest drug in the world, and I'm sick. And you have to be present. You have to do this, and you psych yourself up. And another thing what's happened to me during this period of time, you don't get ill, you don't get nothing. It's only when you come off the flight that everything starts to ache. You find like, oh, you haven't slept, you haven't eaten. But during this period of time, you are elevated.
My patient doesn't think he has a problem. I believe he does. Any soldiers coming from the war zone have physical and emotional impact. During the treatment, I investigate this and find the right remedies to treat it. My patient loves war. He's addicted to this adrenal rush, to trying to prove himself as a macho man. I believe he needs a balance between this state of being in a war zone and family life. Alexander, please tell me, what do you expect from the treatment, from homeopathic treatment?
Being a family man, most recently I've been only talking about going back to war, and to be honest, it has put pressure on my wife, on my children, because all I do is checking the news and thinking if it's offensive gonna happen, if it is, and I'm definitely gonna jump on the plane. I'm gonna tell my family it's gonna be a force majeure situation. I have to be present there. Constantly in touch with my friends and asking, begging for the news that says, is it fighting intensified? Do you need my help? And secretly praying is really going to go and kick off.
I feel he lost his confidence because he's not the man he was a few years ago, strong, physically strong, emotionally strong. I think the war affected him not only on a physical level, the injuries and damaged limbs. I think the war affected him on an emotional level too. I think we need to work on how to learn for him to love his family. I think he is a very good man, he wants to do it, but probably he's a bit lost and he forgot how to do it. Well, Alexander, I think what I can help you with my treatment is, well, obviously, first of all, with all your physical problems. Homeopathic remedies are fantastic treating traumas, physical traumas. And also, I think we need to work on kind of getting you back into the normal life. to your family, as you said, that because they're always in that state of waiting, maybe something happened. I think maybe, I don't want to cure you from your adrenal excitement and adrenal addiction, but I think make you maybe more balanced, that you can actually control it and you can actually feel comfortable in both states.
That was the most interesting piece about post-traumatic stress disorder that I've heard in a long time. And now we move forward to Jenny Cashman-Wilson, talking about her husband Abraham and the foundation that's been set up in his memory. Jenny Cashman-Wilson dealt with the sudden death of her husband musician Abraham Wilson and created a musical foundation for children in his honour. Reporters on this are Jenny Donaldson and Ian Pelham-Turner.
Jenny, how did you and Abraham first meet?
Abram and I first met. Well, I first came across Abram on a YouTube video actually, because I'd been asked in for an interview at this jazz label / education organisation, jazz education organisation, and so I was doing some research, and he was one of the artists that was involved with this organisation and signed to the label, and one of their educators. And I remember watching the video of him on stage at this festival with this big band of musicians and this gospel choir, and just sort of having this feeling that he was gonna play a part in my life, but I sort of didn't really know how yet. And then I went for my job interview, and I was waiting to be sort of called in, and out of one of the offices came this beautiful young man with dreads and this scarf around his head, bandana around his head, and a tracksuit top zipped up, and this trumpet slung over his back, and in his kind of leather case, and of course it was Abram.
Jenny, you obviously went through a very traumatic time in your life after Abram died. What gave you the strength to carry on? And really, how has this new foundation created a really major part of your life now?
So in terms of like what gave me the strength to carry on, I think death is always, it's quite a difficult thing for us to deal with and to talk about. I think, you know, in this country our culture doesn't necessarily lend itself to expressing how we feel all the time, but I think you know, Abram was a very life-affirming person. He was a very positive person. I had a very strong relationship with him. We worked together, we were life partners, we were best friends, we lived together, and I think, you know, I just felt very, very strong, you know, very strongly that you know, he'd had such an impact during his relatively short life through his music and through his education work. I felt very strongly that I wanted to carry that on in some way. And I think in terms of the foundation and how it sort of plays an important part in my life, I mean, it kind of is my life really. So I set up the foundation after Abram passed away, and it was really, you know, to create something in memory of him, but not only just in memory of him, but to sort of continue his legacy and the work that we'd been doing together, because I was managing his career before he passed away, and I felt really strongly that that work that we had created as a partnership should continue in some way. So,
Jenny, what type of children are you helping, and what kind of support are you looking for in the future?
So the type of children that we work with are young people between the ages of 11 to 16. So we're very interested in working with young people who've made that transition from primary school to secondary school. So in terms of supporting the Abram Wilson Foundation, in terms of getting involved, we've recently launched an individual giving campaign where we're asking people to support the foundation by becoming a regular donor, and we call our regular donors trailblazers. You can check out what we do on our website, so that's abramwilson.com, abramwilson.com. We're on Twitter at Abram Wilson, we're on Facebook, Abram Wilson Foundation, or you can email us team@abramwilson.com.
Jenny, can I ask you, what do you think jazz music brings into someone's life? Is it soul? Is it happiness? Is it thoughtfulness of others? What do you think it really establishes into someone's personality?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Big question. What does jazz bring into somebody's life? For me, it's an awful lot of joy. But I think, jazz musicians over the years have referred to jazz music as social music.
Jenny, if you were to give one piece of advice on how to overcome adversity, what would it be?
Good question. I'm not sure if I'm the expert in answering how to overcome adversity because, obviously we all have our different trials and tribulations. But from my personal experience, I think trying to remain positive and surrounding yourself with good people who you trust, who have your best interests at heart, and who you really feel you can rely on, is probably my best advice, I think.
Again, so inspirational, that lady. And now we move on to Diana, Dahlia and Catalina from Models and Supermodels, who talk about how to become a fashion model in today's market.
Hi, I'm Diana Dahlia.
Hello, I'm Catalina.
And welcome to my studio in Chelsea. In my book, I will teach you how to be a successful model and how to keep fit and healthy.
And I will teach you all about fitness and how to have a beautiful body in modeling industry.
Hi, as my book says, have you got what it takes to be a model or a successful model? Are you 5'8" or even 5'7"? Kate Moss was discovered at 5'7", so there are endless possibilities. Are you a size 10 to a small 12? Are you a size 22 waist, 32 bust, 34 hip? If you are those measurements, then obviously you'll find a lot more information in my book, but today's our first chapter and I will go through everything with you. You need to have a career plan. As I say in my book, past the age of 20, an agency wouldn't normally take you on. But to be a successful model, you need determination, you need personality, and the right attitude. The next chapter in my book is health and nutrition and exercise, and Kat is our expert. Hello, Kat.
Hello, Diana.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And what do we have here today?
Well, we've got here blueberries, and this is a magic trick that we use models to keep fit and snacking on them.
Okay, and how often should we be eating blueberries?
Well, we can eat them anytime, every day.
Really?
They're full of antioxidants, full of nutrition and vitamins.
So I can have that for breakfast, lunch and dinner?
Of course, Diana, of course.
So there's
anytime.
No calories?
There is no calorie at all. And like I said, they're plenty full of nutrition, antioxidants and so many vitamins.
Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. Now, you've given me an avocado.
Yes.
What can we do with this?
I love this fruit. This fruit is full as well, is plenty of nutrition and has so many vitamins that are good for your skin, for your hair, for your nails. You can use this in your daily skin routine, Dan, as well.
Right.
So as a face mask, for your hair
I'd be tempted to eat it. If I put that on my face, I'd be tempted.
It's lovely. I love it.
Okay, so that's the avocado. And then we have honey.
I love honey.
Right. Go on, what can we do with that?
Is one of the best magic tricks that models use day to day.
Okay, tell us.
Is contains lots of antioxidants as well, and the most important is natural and is a very good moisturizer for your skin,
What, if
for
you've got
your
dry
hair,
skin, yeah?
of course. And especially for those who suffer with acne or any breakouts, this is perfect. It takes all the tiredness off your face, and we just models love
I need
this.
several of those then, please. Thank you very much, Kat. Yes, let's sort that out later. And then you're giving me a box of eggs. Now, what am I going to do with this?
I know. Well, eggs. It's not just important to have them in your daily routine eating. Is very they're absolutely amazing to have them as a face mask, hair. We models use this a lot, and they're just all natural. So is perfect for moisturizing, as well as a mask for tightening your skin when you've got a special event or photo shoot. Is perfect to use them.
It's very true. A lot of people are not aware that the egg white, you could actually use it under the eye.
It
get rid of the lines.
Skin.
It tightens the skin.
Exactly.
We'll look 12 again. Fantastic.
Same thing for your hair. Makes your hair stronger, shinier,
Really? Right.
and it's just absolutely amazing.
Right, perfect. Thank you. That was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
You're
Dan.
welcome.
And that was another wonderful piece by Diana and Catalina. Well done, you two. And now we move on to Chief Superintendent Victor Elisa, the Head of Diversity for the Metropolitan Police. What do you think is your biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge is trying to overcome the legacy of diversity and inclusion over the years, because it invariably has been more negative than positive. You know, we came from a position where some of the drivers for us changing and looking at how we increase the diversity of the workforce have come about through things that we've done wrong, for which we've been criticised, and as a consequence, the things we've done have been to actually remedy mistakes. And you can imagine in doing that, people have been blamed for a whole range of things. So, you know, people have been, whether or not literally, people have been blamed for being sexist, for being racist. And so when you get to a stage years down the line, when you look at the stats, and the stats don't seem to have changed in terms of employment, in terms of makeup, when you start having the conversation to revitalise, to get us into a position so we can get the best people into the Metropolitan Police Service, there are lots of people with lots of history who are thinking, oh, here we go again. This is going to be another round of blaming us for things that we weren't responsible for, things that we didn't know about, and we're trying our very best. So the really challenging thing is to actually get colleagues in a position where make them feel positive, look at, you know, how we want to develop together, and actually try and come from a position of not blame, which is not where we're from, but from a position of learning together and actually providing a positive environment where we can actually say, as I say, develop and deliver the best policing services to Londoners.
Another very, very interesting piece from Chief Superintendent Elisa. And now we move on to David Otto, a security expert, who I asked really what is the fundamentals of security really in Britain and in Africa at the moment. Do you think, in your experience, that citizens in this country and from the diversity communities, do you feel that they suffer sometimes from not feeling like first-class citizens themselves? And do you think that's part of the reason why there is such a disconnect happening in Britain?
One of the things which the United Kingdom has as a strength is its diversity. But we have communities which, in the early 50s and early 60s were very, very passive. But as time changes, people are becoming more involved and more see themselves as part of the establishment. But what we see at the moment is that, the strategies that, have been put in place to have these communities included within the solution perspective has been very, very limited. These ethnic minorities communities, for example, the African communities, they see themselves as part of the establishment, but there is not enough strategies which have been put within the communities, to give them that absolute trust that they require. And because of the recent events, which ultimately began after the 9/11 events and the 7/7 events, most of these communities are now very, very active, in terms of their involvement with extremist organizations. So what we need is that, we need, to have communities which see themselves as part of the establishment, and we need to have an establishment that sees itself as, as putting itself at a position, to be able to address and help most of these communities. So I think at the moment, the government is doing much work within that aspect. But I think the element of trust, trusting the communities to be able to handle some of these elements has not, been at its very optimum. So what we look at is how do we actually get all these communities to be able to share in some of the solutions that, we need in order for us to be safer.
Next, we turn to William Kapuka Bwabwe, one of my colleagues on Modern Britain Today, who also talks about security in Britain. Do you think programmes such as Modern Britain Today help? Do you think that this is the type of thing that helps to engage with communities?
Well, I think that a program like Britain Good News is a program that fit the purpose, especially when I say that there is a gap between the establishment and other communities. I mean, this program is a program that engage and give also the voice to the voiceless and make people to feel valued. And also the people feel that they can be part of the establishment, they can be part of the communities, and they don't feel like being treated as second-class citizen. And I think that this program, in my opinion, should be supported by the establishment and also by the people, the individuals that want to connect with the communities that are coming from different parts of the world.
William, thank you so much for your time. And lastly, I asked all three of these experts on what do they think is the future for Great Britain.
2017 for me is a year where I envisage that all communities would be able to work together and work also with the establishment, and establish trust. And I think this is going to be a year where if all this goes according to plan, then we'll have a very safer world.
Yeah, I mean, 2017 it will be the year that youth need to be recognized and engage, especially with the youth, and also look at the cyber security and offenses that is happening, and by more engaging with the youth, I think that we'll know more and also prevent a lot of things from happening.
So 2017 is a year that I hope that we'll show more compassion, where the rich and the powerful will actually look at actually supporting the not so rich and the powerful, where we can close the gap between the haves and the have-nots, and we can reduce the level of intolerance that we're actually seeing developing over the last few months, both politically and socially. I'm just wishing that 2017 brings humanity back together again so we can all work as one to achieve what we can.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wasn't that a fascinating insight into where we are at the moment? And now we move on to Parel Ahmed, who is the first Bangladeshi mayor of Brent. And I asked him a little bit more on a recent interview about how he has seen changes. So in the time you've been here, how have you seen Brent changed?
It's a lot of change. Say, just before you come, we have another guest who was discussing about the Brent, how much change of the Brent. Say, last 30 years' time, if I start, because starting from the Kilburn. Kilburn is the border of the Brent. So from Kilburn, generation change, my time was really heavily involved in the Irish community. Then it's Indian, African, now it's Eastern European communities, many of them. Now it's a mixed. So in terms of that, geographically, a lot of change. And in terms of, again, if you're asking me, is a community whole Brent? Yes, it is change. If you start from Kilburn to Halstein, Queen's Park, and Dollis Hill, Naysden, or Oemley, it's really change. But change is a positive way, it's changing, it's not a negative way. So that's why I'm very much proud about myself. Then yes, it is change, but it's a very good positive way, this changing.
Where do you see the future? Where do you see Brent going?
Brent, I want to see Brent should need to go more further. How? Actually, Brent, we had population not that many, below 300,000 about some time ago. Now over 300,000 population is every year is growing. And in the same time, we are trying to, as a council, we are trying to giving them good service as a development way, business development, residentially, or other way as well. Yes, we are trying to see in future Brent is a affordable for who is living in Brent for everyone in terms of business or education or residentially, and feel free, they can live and they can stay in brand. In my times, I can say to you about as where we are right now in my civic center in brand, surrounding Wembley Stadium. It's a lot change. I hope you will see everyone can see another 5-10 years time, it will be more changes coming.
And now finally, we talked to Ian Driscoll, our business correspondent from Team4Winners.com, and we asked him what makes a good business. If you were an 18-year-old today, what type of business would you be looking at for the future?
Internet business, yeah? Because of the low costings, it's global business, that's one of the criterias. You need to have a global business because you're not limited in any way whatsoever. With social media these days, it's easy to find friends as long as you do it right. You know, social media is a massive thing that if you get wrong, you'll never get anywhere. But if you learn how to do it correctly, which I've gradually been learning to do, it can be your biggest asset by far. Again, it's just simply do it, yeah, get your plan in place, your enthusiasm has to be top of the list, and then just go for it. And the thing is, if it isn't working out, stop and think, reprocess, yeah, see what you're doing wrong, and if you can see what you're doing wrong, rectify it. If you don't think you're doing anything wrong, stop doing it.
How do you first get about gaining the money to start a business?
Well, you can always look to family and friends. That can be, you know, one of the easier things to do. Or if you have a good business plan, obviously, you can go to your local bank. When I first started out at 18, when I bought my garage repair business, it was £46,000. And I don't always think you get the right advice from business managers, if you will, at the banks. They're all business advisors, but most of them hasn't even had their own business. And when I went to see if I could raise capital for the garage at £46,000, the Barclays bank manager said to me, best thing you can do, son, is go to sea for 6 months and save up.
What do you think are the values of actually doing a very good business plan?
Well, it's absolutely essential, Ian. You know, if you have no structure, you don't know where you're going, you tend to skip and hop, you try this, you try that, you try the other, which can lead you completely off course. Yeah, you've got to know exactly where you're going and the method to get there. So if you deviate from your own business plan, which so many people do, it just becomes a mishmash of trying to do too many things. You know, a little bit of a jack of all trades and master of none. There are so many facets to business to start with, it's confusing. But the internet with social media is the just cost-effective way of having an international multi-million-pound business from your bedroom, if you like.
Should you always be aware of competitors and competitive products before you start a business?
Absolutely, doing your basic research is essential. You should look at all the businesses that are in your field, because many businesses were not the first into their field. I mean, take Google for example. Google is now the biggest company on earth, but they were not the first search engine whatsoever. There were plenty of search engines around, but what Google very smartly did, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, what they did was look at the mistakes that the other search engine companies were making and didn't make them. So they learned from somebody else's mistakes, which is the wisest thing you could possibly ever do. So scour the internet for anything that relates to what you're looking to do, because you'll learn an awful lot from that.
I tend to find there's a lot of very good Asian and Caribbean and African businesses. You know, they start in corner shops and they seem to develop. What do you think is the characteristics that these communities have that create successful businesses?
Well, I've got to be honest, I do admire these people, but yeah, somehow hardship can be one of the biggest driving forces, to be honest with you. When I embarked on my mission, I thought that I'll get a small garage repair business because it's my own business. What I missed was that in order to be successful, you don't need a small business, you need a big business. That one slipped me by. So a lot of the people that are a little bit downtrodden perhaps and neglected, like Levi Roots, look at the story of that man. It's absolutely amazing what he did. So again, Caribbeans and many ethnic people have got the drive within them. It's just the drive to succeed, kind of, I'll show you. I had many people that discouraged me, told me I was doing wrong things, and in fact Walt Disney would run his ideas past all his family, 20 of them. If one of them thought it was a good idea, he didn't do it. It had to be all 20 that said you're mad. So just don't listen to the naysayers.
What type of businesses are you involved in at the moment?
Well, currently, as I said, I had a bricks and mortar business and I learned the ropes with that. I ran that for 30 years. But in amongst that, I knew that diversification of income was highly important, because we don't know what's going to happen at any time in the current world. It's not like it was before, whereby, you know, you left school, you got a job, you worked for 45 years and retired. We don't live in that world anymore. It doesn't even exist, to be honest. I always look around, I always evaluate businesses and companies. I have a few criterias that dictate whether it would be a good business or not. Anybody can actually get that wrong, of course. Most successful multimillionaires finished up bankrupt because they tried things that didn't work. Nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong at all. So I look at all types of businesses. It needs to be internet driven, it needs to be international, and it needs to have good products or services that's going to help the communities around the world.
What do you think is the best thing to do if your business seems to be getting into trouble?
Again, it's always stop, think, and if you can take advice from someone that's sensible. I mean, business is simply common sense. But as often said, common sense ain't common. So people give you their opinions, but what's their opinion worth? Everybody's got an opinion, but it doesn't make them right. So it's trying to take the opinions of people that understand what you're looking to achieve. You may become very lucky and find someone in the same industry that has a little bit of passion and a little bit of help for people. They could actually help you to overcome your current difficulties. Because if you can find a mentor that's got a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, that's the best thing you can ever find, someone that'll hold you by the hand while you do these things.
Why do you like mentoring people? Why have you started up this training service as well?
It is through out-and-out passion. The way the world is now, I don't think anybody could ever dispute that things are wrong here. Very wrong. And it's about time that we started to grow and develop. And there's no reason why anybody now, with the internet and a mobile phone, we can all become successful if we apply ourselves. I mean, the app market and so on. But that's not the end of it. It's just the beginning. We haven't started with many things that are to come. Yeah, that's for sure, yeah.
What do you foresee as the major businesses, startups in the next 10 years?
Well, as I said, we obviously always need products and services, so that will always be there. But as I said, if you're looking to generate large incomes, you know, it doesn't have to be mansions and rollers and all the rest of it. If you're just looking for a better lifestyle with less pressure, yeah, an internet business is simply the best, because at least there is no major capital outlay. Now, having, you know, lent £46,000 from the bank, that was a headache for 20 years for me. Well, if you can get a low startup business, I mean, many of the affiliate programs, you know, Amazon even, you can become an Amazon affiliate and they will drop ship everything for you. There's a myriad of different types of businesses, but it needs to fit with you. There's no point doing it just because somebody else is. And my MO, if you will, has simply been this for the last 26 years I've been in this industry. My aim is to give people the roots to grow and the wings to fly. That's the knowledge to develop and expand as a person, and then you're in charge of your own whole world.
What's been the highest and lowest times in your business career?
Well, the lowest was around 2003, when I was turning the garage into a house development, a courtyard establishment, and I kept trying to get all the ducks sat up, shall we say. I didn't realise when I embarked upon that there would then be a ground survey to do, which cost me £40,000, and various other things, I mean, I was about £200,000 into this project, and I had an agreement with land adjacent to mine. We were doing a bit of a swap, and one of them was a major retailer in the UK, and What happened was that major retailer got taken over, and as a consequence of that, they decided they weren't going to do this land swap. So that ultimately turned me bankrupt. I don't think it's possible to get lower than that when you have a conscience and when you care. I did everything I could to escape that happening, but it just seems life turned against me at that point, and that was certainly my lowest point ever, to be honest, my very lowest point. I had mental monsters all night, I couldn't sleep, concerned, worried, sick in the stomach. You know, again, I know a lot of people go through that. I'm not playing a violin, but, you know, I think to an extent, if you don't have the really dark and hard times, you don't strive for the good times, because things just become same old, same old. So it's always fight for your freedom.
And the highest?
Oh, the highest is doing presentations in front of 2,000, 3,000 people. Again, physically helping people gain experience and knowledge on success and how to build businesses, how to build teams. I've been in sort of direct sales as well, which is one of the hardest businesses in the world, make no mistake. But again, I actually did that because I wanted to test myself to see how far I'd grown internally in order to do some of the hardest jobs in the world. So doing that, and again, speaking to hundreds and hundreds of people, that's my high spot. I love seeing people's faces initially looking, and you can see hope coming to their eyes. That is just magic, because they know how to do it then.
Ian, that's great. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Ian.
Again, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed February's show of Modern Britain Today, and we look forward to seeing you again in March. Bye for now.